welcome everyone to Otalku, the show where otaku talk about otaku topics. This week, our topic is on anime that's sort of unfairly bashed, anime that a lot of folks know about, but tend to get a negative reputation, and that we feel don't deserve that negative reputation. And also just the overall subject of why anime gets bashed in this way. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that people just pile on and pile on. It's really not that terrible. And with me today is Matt Dixon from Life and Tims of Anime. Hello, Matt.
AKA Howard Lee. Hello everyone. How are you? It's always a pleasure to be here.
Glad. What are you looking for right now?
Me looking for?
Yeah, are you looking for anyone in particular? Or particular kinds of people?
Well, I'm sticking with sliders at the moment, because you've got to keep with those. We don't have one yet. Another alien would be handy.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm not fussed.
Okay, fair enough. And welcome also, Miniman. How's it going there with Snorlax?
I'm featuring 80% more Snorlax. Featuring 80% more Snorlax this week.
There we are.
Also, question, Matt. How do you know there's another alien? You're stopping the continuity timeline.
Yeah.
That's how he got on this show. He just wished he was, and he was.
There we are. And welcome, Zan.
You're pushing me off the show for knowing. No.
And welcome, Zan. How's it going?
I feel so bad I don't have a camera. I really need to get one.
We'll have to get that
You
worked
can
out.
do stupid jokes like these.
Exactly. And also, welcome Brad to his first Otaku. How you doing, Brad?
Very good. It's good to be here.
Cool. Glad to have you. So the subject is sort of underappreciated anime that folks, kind of bash on for various reasons. And I want to kind of start off just with the overall topic of, the fact that, and I think part of this it has to do with just fandom in general. It's easy to, when you're focusing on trying to find the really good stuff, to push everything else to the side. And I feel like a lot of anime gets, one of those, like I had a friend where basically, if it wasn't Citizen Kane, he was disappointed with the film. He wanted everything to be awesome. And it's kind of like, well, not everything's going to be awesome. So I think that there's a lot of that kind of bias, especially among reviewers.
Yeah, it's really easy nowadays to, if something's just sort of middle of the ground, it's shit.
Yeah.
It has to be Spielberg or something, and it has to be perfection or it's nothing to you, which is really weird, and it's even more so in otakudom, in anime.
Yeah.
You normally talk to someone and you ask their opinions on it and they say it's awful. The only reason they can give is, one reason. So you're like, it's kind of meh then. No, it's awful. No, it's meh. No, it's awful,
Yeah, I never understood that. You always get people who just can't appreciate the good. It has to be great.
Yeah.
If it's good, it's not worth their time.
Yeah.
That's the amazing thing about anime, though. Like, you don't get any bad stuff, really. It's always, either good or meh. Like, you rarely get any bad stuff.
That is true. I mean, I've seen a lot of anime. And there's very little that I would say, look, just never watch this. This is just absolute tripe. There's always at least something in there that's interesting. And even if not, it's just, a lot of stuff, it's like, okay, this just isn't for me.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, another important thing. I think a lot of folks, it's hard if you're a fan of shoujo to watch Gurren Lagann and really get into it. If you like more, intense romantic relational stories.
Watch Code Geass.
There we go.
I'm sorry, baby, but it's true. Code Geass is a permanent unscalable system. Wow, you laugh at it every time, Brent. It's amazing.
Isn't that funny?
I'd have no more pleasure than to find the company that made Code Geass and smash their faces.
You mean Sunrise?
Alright, let's find Sunrise.
Not over-exaggerating how bad something is. Miniman.
It's one of those things where I just hate it. Just despise it for that one reason that I'm not sure of why. But it just gets on my nerves.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I watched Death Note, like, this is pretty cool. And it's like, Code Geass is Death Note with mechs. Awesome.
No.
What? I don't care about you. Shut up, Lelouch. Fuck off.
But that's the thing, is that there's,
Code Geass is actually one of the anime I was thinking of for this topic.
Yeah.
Because
Oh god.
it doesn't totally suck.
No.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of Code Geass myself. It was okay. It was middle of the road for me too, but it doesn't suck, but it gets so much hate. I get a lot of hate for that show.
It's hates for being like Death Note. It doesn't exactly, but it doesn't get hate to my level. I'm one of the rarity who actually despise it.
And that's one of the things, actually. I think a lot of folks. I was talking about this about Code Geass, actually, with a friend of mine. I said, the thing about Code Geass is, to me, it was. I feel like the production folks at Sunrise sat down and said, "Okay, we need a new series this season. What should we do?" Someone said, "A guy has a power that can make anyone do anything. Good, let's go do that." We need something else. Let's put mechs, but let's make them roller skate. Good, let's do that. And every episode, they came in and said, "What should we do? Kill a bunch of people. Good, let's do that." Code Geass is just. Code Geass is really.
Go.
It's really honestly throwing a bunch of stuff at the screen and seeing what sticks. Code Geass is not this, intensely plotted. It's not Gundam. It's not one of these, carefully plotted things, and that's fine. And I think a lot of folks went into Code Geass expecting something different than what they got out of it. And I think that's one of the reasons why there's a lot of the like what Miniman is saying, the folks who just dislike it for various reasons. I think it's that idea that you come into it expecting one thing, get something else, and think it's bad for that reason.
Yeah, how you're introduced to it really just affects your opinion on it. It's really strange because again, if you go into something with high expectations and it's just sort of meh, then you're gonna hate it. You just over-exaggerate everything. So thinking again, like Miniman was introduced to it, it was Death Note with mechs, and it didn't turn out to be. And I'm guessing Miniman, you really like Death Note, so you went in there with this is something awesome with metal people, and then you got Code Geass. So you just kind of went, this is awful.
Well, when someone recommends me something saying it's like Death Note back something, I try and. When I watch it, I try and turn off that idea and just sort of watch it for what it is. And the problem is that the thing I love about anime is I'm very much a person on psychological character studies. And with Lelouch, I just can't pin down any sympathy.
Yeah.
You watch a thing like Death Note, you watch any anime, even with a lot of the baddies, and you can still find some sympathy in them.
And actually, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And in Code Geass, name one moment when you're actually genuinely sympathetic for Lelouch, apart from the ending.
And I think something I was
sympathetic for C2. Does that count?
No.
I was talking about that with actually
Rob's rules, most happy to.
I was talking with this about Miss Artist 24 actually. We were creating some videos about this where he was asking me basically, does anime need to be analyzed? Can you kind of just sit down and enjoy an anime and not consider it that way? And it's an interesting point, and I realize there's a lot of fans where, they're legitimately not into it to understand the characters. I love doing that. A lot of folks aren't, and it's just, it's a different way of appreciating anime.
Well, yeah, it's like I've said this a lot of the times now recently, of taking your brain out and just enjoying it. And again, it's like I reference the film Machete, just mindless, awesome violence. Again, it's just brainless. You just take your brain out and enjoy it, and sometimes that's what you've got to do. Because again, like Machete just has no character in it. It's just a Mexican chopping people to pieces, and that's what a lot of animes are like.
Yeah.
Not specifically a Mexican, but people chopping each other to pieces.
Yeah.
But it's just no need for analysation. Like Brent, we said this a couple of times during how we do it better for Ponyo. A lot of Ponyo, it's not meant to be analysed. Pretty much all of Ponyo is not meant to be analysed. You're just supposed to sit there and kind of go, nice fish, those prehistoric fish look awesome, and look at the colours.
Yeah.
That is what you enjoy about Ponyo, the nice colours and the prehistoric fish, which look awesome. Again, don't analyse it and just enjoy it. But, some people just cannot do that.
Well,
and that's why they dislike something.
The big thing about Code Geass, though, was that it came off as a show that wanted to be analyzed.
Yeah.
True.
It pushed itself as intelligent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
For example, if you watch something, say you go into and watch something like Gakko and Alice, you can go in there And while you have these lovable characters, it's expected just to enjoy some jokes, have some emotional moments, but not to overanalyze these characters too much. And it just expects you to have some humor and have some nice cries at the end of it.
Yeah.
Except when you've got someone like Code Geass, the problem is that while, I'm not always trying to analyse something, there are several series I enjoy for just pure mindlessness.
Sure.
You can't, like Rosario to Vampire, for example. I enjoy that. Mindless, don't need to analyse it. But the thing about something like Code Geass is it wants you to think. And as soon as you want you to think, you have to spread out your characters accordingly.
That's kind of the weird thing, though. Code Geass, that was back when I never really liked the symbolism anime, and I enjoyed it because of that. Because what I enjoyed in Code Geass was more the tricks, the strategies. That's what I thought was the intelligence side. You know what? I think it was great for that part. At least some episodes were. But I think we should get to a bigger target here. And just go right for Neon Genesis 7.
Well, just one more point on Code Geass. Well, not specifically Code Geass, just the analysing things. We've also got to take into account, are any of us from Japan? No. So again, we're analysing it from a Western culture.
True.
I know, it's sort of a thin gap when you're analysing character personalities.
Yeah.
But still, a Japanese person is going to see these characters differently to us. It might be massively different, or it might be slightly different. Again, a northern person from the west and a southern person from the west are also going to analyse characters differently.
A great example of that actually is Lucky Star. As much as there's a lot of bashing of Lucky Star from a lot of folks who just didn't get it for being, and then some people, there's a lot of folks who just like, not for me. That's fine. A lot of folks who are like, this is just dumb. This is not funny. And there are plenty of other folks that know, I laugh a lot at Lucky Star. And again, it's one of those things. And Lucky Star is clearly aimed at a different kind of fan. I think Lucky Star is aimed more at Japanese fans. It definitely has just a very different style than your typical anime, and it is not meant to be enjoyed in the same way.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, though, is you pretty much hit the nail on the head of how I felt when I first started watching Lucky Star. It's like, it took me twice to watch Lucky Star. The first time I was recommended to it, I watched the first episode and thought, this is dull as crap. It's just boring. But then I watched it again for a project that Toho was doing. Toho Izumi, not Toho itself. That would be interesting.
It would.
But, I watched it all for that. And after the first two episodes, I was just like, this is pretty good. Again, it's just sort of meh for me. It's a bit above meh, closer to this is kind of cool, and just in between it.
Sure.
But, again, the first time I watched it, just instantly thought, this is boring. Because I was trying to get it too much, If you just watch Lucky Star for what it is, again, just a nice slice of life. They talk about the actual things teenage girls talk about. Yeah. Which is like, how do you eat a croissant? Because I wonder that all the time, and I'm not a teenage girl. But, I am at the moment. Once you start watching it for what it is, and you're just chilling to it, then it becomes something much more, which is what the people that love it do, and what the people that hate it do not do. Yeah.
And I think that there's also a lot about, like we were saying earlier, about how folks are introduced to things. And getting back, and weaving that into the other thing, where there's that, we don't just say, this is a funny comedy, we say, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
This is hilarious. And you sit down in front of something that's just this light comedy or, light action or whatever, and you're like, what do you mean? So that's another issue. And I've had that problem a lot actually recommending anime, that I've had folks recommend things to me, and I sit down and I'm like, I don't get it. And you say, you have to be careful with that.
Can I just get back to my point with Evangelion really quick?
Sure.
So really, before I started rewatching Evangelion, I was like, I hated Evangelion from two things. One, from the childhood memories I had as a kid, watching the last 10 episodes of it, which is obviously not good. And two, hearing everyone else said that it was crap. Thus, confirming my opinion that it was crap.
Yeah.
Because that's what I like to call the easy way out.
Yeah.
Because think about it, there's tons of anime in the sea, so if you don't have to watch one of them, the more the merrier. It's like, it's crap, I have an excuse.
move on.
Mm-hmm.
But I rewatched the series. First 50 episodes are great. All right, they fit like an exact anime, an actual mecha anime, because you have the main character. He has a depression point a little bit earlier in the series.
I don't.
That's actually better.
I don't think Eva though is really underrated though. I don't think it's unfairly bashed. There are so many people out there who love Evangelion.
Yeah. Evangelion is one of those that has a fair reason to be bashed.
Yeah, I would agree there. And I mean certainly there are people who bash it unfairly. But in general, I think it's one of those things. It certainly has plenty of fans. Anyway, but yeah, I mean to Zan's point, there is a lot to how we approach something, especially those childhood favorites. That's a rough one. It's very easy to go back and with Matt was saying with Outlaw Star. I loved Voltron growing up, and it's easy to say, "Oh, you need to watch it. It's awesome." When you realize, well, I watched it when I was 10. I have a really different approach than I would probably be if I were a 30-year-old watching it now.
And one of the things that's interesting is that it's also sort of the gravitas of a certain something that you get from it.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are some great things about Eva, but people bash it for one reason, and I'm not going to say whether it's unfair or not, because I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But sort of how people feel that gravitas. Like one of the ones I'm putting on my list here is Elf and Lied, because I believe that people totally, I have seen so many people come up from watching that and saying it wasn't that great because it was just mindless violence. Yet they seem to have missed out every single emotional point ever, because all they can remember is that first scene. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of the, actually, I'm going to give it the psychology talk. It's actually kind of basic psychology. For example, if you're ever fed a bunch of various different words and letters, humans tend to remember only the first and the last. Never any in the middle. So that's actually another reason why series that have bad endings don't do so well. For example, I remember watching this anime a few seasons ago, Ezekiel. It's the cat girl one. It had a terrible, terrible ending. Really, it's just it's just so stupid. I really like the show. The premise of the whole show, especially the first episode. But that last few episodes were in my head, and I hate them. So, hate for Ezekiel usually comes out more. Another reason why people might hate an anime also is just simply cultural differences. Honestly, I've seen so many reviews where they just don't get they just haven't watched enough anime, or just don't get Japanese culture, and they're just not understanding and just hate it.
A great example of that actually is mecha reviews. I see a lot of folks who are it's completely unrealistic that a 15-year-old boy will be able to pilot a giant robot. Well, it's also really unrealistic that you would have giant robots.
Everyone who says that are always with people playing Call of Duty going, if it's not a realistic game, it doesn't work. It's for escapism, idiots.
Well, just a defense on the Gundam thing of a 15-year-old piloting a gun. I mean, a mecha. Why can't a 15-year-old pilot a mecha? If you can learn, if a 15-year-old can learn how to ride a motorcycle, and a 30-year-old can learn to ride a motorcycle, why can't a 15-year-old learn to pilot a mecha? Because, in the future, things are supposed to be simpler.
I think it's the fact that it's mostly 15-year-olds piloting mecha and not 30-year-olds.
Well, that's the thing.
It's 30-year-olds die.
And that's actually a great, great example of what we're talking about is the fact that, when I go back and actually watch, the Gundams, there's only one 15-year-old at a time ever piloting a mecha. Everyone else is, in their 20s and 30s. It's just that the genre demands, if you will, that the main character be about the same age as the viewer. So, it's one of those things where that's just, how they designed it. It is very easy to get into that mode that, oh my gosh, I'm a 15-year-old pilot. Well, across 6 universes, we've had 10 of them. It's not that bad.
And back to the things
Yes, Brent?
at Japanese. Oh, sorry, Matt.
No, go ahead.
the thing about back to Japanese culture is there are tons of anime out there that are more aimed towards the Japanese.
Mm.
And when they get brought over here, you're going to find a lot of newer folk who aren't going to enjoy it as much because they just haven't experienced that culture basically at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, vice versa. Have an anime they make over in Japan. It does terribly in Japan, but does great in America.
Cowboy Bebop.
AKA Trigun.
Yeah. Trigun, Bebop.
TV.
Yeah.
It always seems to be like the westerns.
Yeah. The stuff that has the more, Western vibe. For some reason, works well in the West. But yeah, that totally happens. And it's actually something when I give in talks, at various conventions, like I've mentioned the fact that Bebop kind of bombed. Well, it didn't bomb in Japan, but it was, it was a mediocre success, and people's jaw literally dropped.
Yeah.
They can't conceive the idea that this thing that's popular over here wasn't popular everywhere else.
Because they're the same people who can't seem to get that John Woo is not a popular director in China. Red Cliff is a great film over here. It bombed over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a very different culture.
So most people don't think of different cultures when they're watching something or doing anything. The only culture is your own.
Yeah.
So you base all your decisions off your own culture, and you base all of your reactions off your own culture. Yeah. So when someone says this is how another culture acts, you kind of go, does not compute.
Yeah.
Well, and we also have the problem that we're getting this
emotional error, create new universe.
Exactly. And we also have the issue that we're getting. Not only are we getting this weird slice of Japanese culture, we're getting a sub-slice of that culture. We're not getting the most popular anime over there. We're not getting the stuff that everyone knows, so to speak. And there's lots of other stuff that's middle of the road or even lower. But we just don't get. So we're not even getting the whole story.
Yeah, like for example, we're not getting Gintama. Well, actually, we are, but just like it's not popular enough because there's like so much Japanese influence in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically, Gintama is such an interesting series because basically it's Japan, but it's Japan if aliens took over and made it futuristic, and it's all Edo Japan.
Right.
I love the setting. I love Hidaki Somichi. But yeah, just cultural differences. I seriously think otaku anime / manga reviewer, they really need to start getting more culturally open-minded. Because some guy did like a little rant one time at the end of his review saying, "Hey, why aren't there any sports manga now?" It's like, dude, come on. Do you realize the only sports manga you're getting is Shonen Jump? That's because they're so freaking big over here. Dude, freaking open a book, read, watch more anime.
Point on something that Brent said. Just about the getting the slice of the culture. The reason we don't always get the most popular Japanese stuff is a lot of time because it is 100% just aimed at Japanese people. Like an example of a manga is which again I'm surprised is over here is Sayonara Zetsuko Sensei because that is totally aimed at people that know Japanese social culture.
Yeah.
And the reason we get that slice of culture that we get, and the reason why most of it, we've got 10-year-old succubi. But the slice that we get is the slice that works over here. I would love to see that other slice, the rest of the pie. Yum 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 pie. The rest of the pie come over to come on to the west, and maybe some of it would do well, but a lot of it, no one gets the rest of the culture. Just like what?
I totally agree with that.
AKA one good example is like this one OVA that came out like a few seasons ago. It was like basically kind of a Hetalia of all the shogun of the certain dynasty of Japan.
Nice.
I watched it and I left it like one part. That's because it was so ridiculous.
What's the name of that? Sengoku Basara has that problem.
No, that wasn't it.
But that has the same
But
problem.
it does have the same. You're absolutely right. That is very much based on these historical characters.
That is true.
Actually, the Rurouni Kenshin OVA had that problem, where and Kenshin in general, because the author took various historical characters and sort of reworked them, and so a character will show up, and someone will say, "Oh, that's blah blah blah," and he'll walk away, and he's only there for like 10 seconds. You're like, "What was he there for?" And you realize that it'd be like Robert E. Lee, walking on, or Winston Churchill walking onto your show. And we just don't know who those people are because we didn't have, 4 semesters of Japanese Asian history in school.
Yeah. I would actually like to learn Japanese Asian history and with the oh man, I can't remember the organization. Crap. Oh well. Yeah.
With the Illuminati.
That's Italian.
But yeah, it's a really tough thing. And actually, a good example of that, I actually found like 2 examples. One is this anime called Kochikame, which I watched.
Yeah.
I watched episode 323, which was subtitled, and it's the story of a bunch of police officers at this police station out nowhere, and it's been running in Shonen Jump long enough that they don't number it.
Yeah.
Like, they've lost track.
It's in the tens of thousands.
Yes. They've lost track of how many issues of Kochikame there are out there.
Yeah.
And you watch it, and it's like, okay, this is kind of cute. But it's really much aimed at the Japanese. Another one that's kind of, I still find kind of odd. Back in the 70s, Hayao Miyazaki, Isao Takahata, and Yoshiki Tomino all worked on one anime, an adaptation of Heidi. Heidi.
Yeah,
and they did
that story that we never really learned to watch.
And they did this 50-episode adaptation of Heidi. And I've seen the first episode, and it's gorgeous. It's, incredibly well done. And, like, one person subbed the first episode saying, we can't commit to the entire thing, but we're going to sub the first one, so hopefully someone will pick it up. No one's picked it up. No one wants to watch this. And I'm just like, why aren't people, falling all over themselves to watch it? Heck, it's a Western book. But it's just something that's never really gotten much attention over here.
Yeah.
So
probably because they're too busy subbing the newest Bleach or something. I'm sorry, but There's so many good anime that I haven't watched but would like to. Back when Crunchyroll was still technically legal, let's say that. I was like just looking through the library, and I found that. There was actually a Les Miserables sort of OVA anime. Yeah. It was basically like the story of God, I'm gonna screw up her name. I'm gonna screw up some names. Colette's daughter.
Yeah.
And basically her stay with her parents. Her foster parents that took care of her while her mother was still working. And then and also it kind of like showed her side of the story. How Jean Valjean picked her up and basically her life.
Ah, nice. Well, it's one of the other problems that we have over here often is that a Japanese company will come in and adapt a Western book, and they won't try to be accurate because this is not. I mean, they recognize it's a big book of it. It would be like us coming across a well-known Japanese novel and saying, we're going to make a movie out of this. We're not going to feel like, we have to make it exactly like the original novel. But over there, it may be, one of the greatest novels that they've ever, of all time.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of those weird adaptations out there that we just, we don't appreciate the fact that they're saying, well, we don't see it as a sacred cow.
Yeah. Well, especially America, aka Dragon Ball Z movie. I don't know.
Yeah.
You didn't even do a Kamehameha. What? But that's a good point. I mean, how many people bashed Romeo X Juliet?
Yeah.
I mean, tons of people. It's one of my favourite series of all time, but so many people bashed it going, it's different from the novel.
But,
that's called the Japanese jazz, everyone. It's actually making it more modern and contemporary and slightly better.
It's
Honestly, I would rather see the story of Romeo and Juliet on a play than the actual Romeo and Juliet, where it's basically just two teenagers adolescing over each other.
Anything's better than Baz Luhrmann's film of Romeo and Juliet is all I'll say. Well, the Romeo and Juliet song.
Why?
Let's have a gun.
Just watch Baz Luhrmann's film of Romeo and Juliet, and you'll understand why Baz Luhrmann needs to be hanged.
That's the one with Leonardo DiCaprio, right?
Yes, and that's another reason why it was bad.
So many people love that film.
yeah.
Captain Jack Sparrow is looking at you. Behind you. The other way. The other way. Yes.
He's on an iPad.
Yeah. So do you guys have any?
That scared me, man. It's an iPad back. Apple is watching you, me, man.
Back to the
Yes, Brett.
underrated stuff.
Yeah.
The Black Rock Shooter, I agree with you, Brent.
Mm.
Got a little overbashed for what it was.
Oh, definitely,
Yeah.
Why did people bash that? I still don't get.
I love it.
Yeah.
People bash that.
Yeah.
That confuses me.
Yeah.
I still think it's one of the best OVAs I've ever seen.
And again, I think it's back into those things. The folks are like, it needs to, it needs to conform to my preconceived notions of what it should be. Okay, fine. Filmmakers must be psychic now. Secondly, I think there was a lot of it should either have been all action, or it should have been all one story or another. Folks just got really frustrated with the fact that it was experimental, which always frustrates me.
And also, people were just... These are the same people who bash Memento for not being in timeline. It's sort of just like... Basically, you can tell that these are the people who hate Christopher Nolan, who bash Black Rock Shooter.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, oh, come on, you can have a slice of life and an action thing and make it good, and the ending works.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, and it's definitely a there's more to come thing.
Mm-hmm.
So wait for the more to come, because I'd happily wait for the more to come.
Yeah, absolutely. And
That's an incredibly good point. Tons of Western stuff has done what Black Rock Shooter has done. This having play the future, but then go back to the past at the same time. Between scenes. It's like there was a Tarantino film that did this. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name, but he did the same 5 minutes of time just over and over again from different perspectives.
Yeah,
people were pissed off at that.
Yeah,
Was that Run Lola Run?
Oh, yeah, Run Lola Run. It's a great example. A German film where characters are basically reliving the same, afternoon over and over again, which changes.
And while it wasn't a great film, Vantage Point got really bashed for doing that, in which you show it's like 20 minutes towards a shooting, so it shows the 5 minutes and the guy gets shot, and then it goes back and there's a different perspective for 6 minutes, and a different one for 7 minutes, and you gradually get to the bottom of it.
Nice. But yeah, and one of the problems too we have is just the wide variety of anime fans. You have folks who like Naruto, who like shonen stuff. And that's fine. But you sit them down in front of something like Jinro, and they're going to just be bored out of their minds, generally speaking. It's just not their kind of anime. So it's
what's this thing I'm feeling? I don't get emotion.
That's kind of
the thing. Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
That's kind of the weird thing is that the anime viewers, some of them just don't really evolve.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of sad. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to say I'd say that I evolved. I went on from stuff like Spin Racer, all the typical shonen stuff that's only seen on TV because that's what's popular, into shoujo, into a little dabble of Senni, not so much the boy stuff yet, into some josei.
Yeah.
But really, some people are just so stubborn that they just stick with Naruto.
Yeah.
And just like, guys, there's a whole new world out there. It's like, no, Naruto's the only one. Like, guys, come on.
Well, it's one of the weird things is that, there's... not only is there a lot of stuff out there, I think there's also a certain desire to be... And I think this is truer of younger fans than older fans. There's the idea that I have found the one thing that makes me different from my friends. no one else watches Naruto. No one else watches this one show that I watched. So I'm going to stick with that forever.
Yeah.
And it's really worrying. You have these folks who kind of won't branch out to other things because they're like, no, I found the one thing I'm going to watch. And to me, and not that there's anything wrong with, there's certainly things I found in other cultures like, I don't really like that movie, and not really anything else made in that country. That happens sometimes. But there's also this idea, I guess, it's one thing if you're a fan and you're just a fan of Naruto. That's fine. If you become a reviewer, I think you have a certain responsibility to have a broader understanding of things.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with what he said there about the thing with the Brent, that makes sense.
The Brent.
That, it's okay to just watch Naruto. It's just the thing that the people, like pretty much all the people that just watch Naruto, if they venture into other genres or even just other animes of Naruto's type, they instantly bash it.
Yeah,
and then
that's the thing.
it's like it's fine for you to like this and not want to go into other places, but when you do, just don't bash it. If it's not for you, it's not for you. And you already knew it's not for you. So why did you bother watching it? And then why did you bother wasting your breath and complaining about it so much? People told you you might like it, not will, just might, and you already thought you wouldn't like it.
Yeah, that's the thing. There are a lot of people who just aren't willing to go out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
And when they do, they feel like they have to defend their position by knocking down another show or another thing that they're not comfortable with.
Absolutely.
That's like, shockingly, Karen no Kyokai got such bad press from a lot of people. I was shocked because that was my second favourite anime ever, Karen no Kyokai. And I think part of it is that actually it was advertised during an episode of Naruto. And it was advertised with all the action bits. People forgetting that Karen no Kyokai is not an action story; it's a psychological one. But the thing is that stuff like Karen no Kyokai, people can get confused about because even in the anime itself, it takes away its own self-conceived notions of how this works. Because you go from episode 4, a very psychological drama story about how this person sort of got their powers, to episode 5, which is a complete horror fest which terrifies everyone.
Yeah, well, and it's one of the odd things, actually getting back kind of to Brad's point, is anime is so well known now, in terms of folks being aware of it, that now you can kind of find your thing, and people can, especially in like high schools and such, folks can, you can tell folks, I'm a fan of Naruto, and they'll know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And that can give you a certain kind of cred that you didn't have before. So I think, no, sorry, go ahead.
In Britain, the credibility is hate.
You watch cartoon porn. No, I watch anime. Yeah, that's cartoon porn. No, it's not. Hold on.
England!
It's still like in England. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Tell the parents I watch anime, they give me a look like I'm some sort of rabid dog that just chewed on their carpet.
My mum still thinks I'm absolutely crazy for doing a show about anime. She, every time I start recording, she's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why have you disappointed me, Rob, you failure as a child?
She's kind of like a zombie at the window going, I shall make you better.
Yeah. That's actually kind of a problem that's been developing actually nowadays. Mainstream society, as we're becoming a little bit more noticed, but not only that, but even our fellow geeks and nerds are beginning to not kind of hate us. Have you guys heard of college humor?
Of course.
Yes.
College humor has a very twisted take on anime and manga lovers or otaku.
I remember that sketch.
No, there's two of them.
Is this the I'm part anime sketch?
Not only that, but it's also another sketch which is basically about cosplaying. And here's it's basically a music video, but like here's how it basically just goes. Girl dresses up in a Princess Slave costume, the guy likes it. Girl dresses up in a Bayonetta costume, he likes it. Then she dresses as Rei Ayanami, he gets freaked out. Just like, what are you wearing?
just stupid.
Yeah.
Well, it just seems like our fellow nerds are seeing us as self xenophobes, I guess, to our own country. Apparently, because apparently, if we watch anime, we hate American cartoons. That's so.
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that attitude in general. I've seen folks find anime just bizarre.
Yeah,
and I think
see that too.
And I think it's
beginning to become more prominent to me as I'm searching around the internet and just like searching around conventions as well. I'm seeing that much more frequently. I'm just like
at anime conventions.
No. I'm more like gaming conventions.
Okay.
At least what I've heard from friends. Like for example, Comic-Con. Last year, my friend, he basically brought his anime cosplay. Some guys kind of just like looked at him because it wasn't like Naruto or Bleach anymore. But like everyone was just like, "What are you doing?" And this is like the same people who are dressing up as like the Joker and Captain America.
Well, but I think that though too is at a place like Comic-Con, you're expected to cosplay something folks know about. And it's one of the interesting things about anime fandom is we have a certain obsession that is kind of different from what you get in other fandoms. Gamers like to play games other gamers play. We like to, a lot of us like to watch anime that nobody else has seen.
Yeah.
So, at cons especially, you'll see, I go to a con, I've seen a lot of anime, and I don't recognize 70% of the costumes. There's just lots and lots of stuff there. I'm like, I have no idea where you're from. And I think that's one of the interesting things is that, we do tend to push onto those things. And there's also, this whole question of, whether that's good for us. I think it is, we are looked down as being just strange because of our obsession with this thing that is, you can understand why someone would be a fan of science fiction books or fantasy books or video games, whatever. Anime's a little weirder, especially if you've only seen Legend of the Overfiend.
There's also a real big thing about once I started getting into anime. Before I started even talking about it or anything, I just maybe mentioned that I watched a show or something and said I liked it. I would immediately be associated with a Japanophile and the weeaboo.
Ah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That is...
Well, the thing is that, here's a little quite funny anecdote. I was at HMV a while ago when I started watching anime, and I was browsing in the tiny block that you can call an anime section. So I'm browsing in this anime section, and this sort of nerdy guy walks up to me, and he starts laughing. He just says, "Haha, you watch anime," sort of thing. And he sort of had this sort of "I'm better than you" in that situation thing. And then I just went, okay, then what have you bought? Guess what he had in his hand? The season box set of Thundercats.
Wow. There we go.
Thundercats!
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, I mean, everyone has this problem. Video gamers are all violent, homicidal maniacs.
Well, not necessarily, Brent. I'd say more American gamers are.
There we go.
But
let's make that better. Southern redneck gamers are.
No. Seriously, I mean, all across the U.S., there is this view that gamers are, are violent.
I thought you had that view.
No, certainly not. But fantasy readers all collect crystals and have houses full of pewter dragons. There are all these stereotypes that we get from this 1% of our population. And it is really hard to push back. It's one of the reasons why Talking to Video exists, actually, is to perpetuate a more sane view of fans, that we're not all, we don't all have giant flags of Japan in our house or whatever.
Yeah, but the thing is, the ironic thing is, more often than not, they always say, anime fans go too far. But at the same time, so does a fan of everything.
Yeah.
It's like a fan of a novel. What does a fan of an author do? They buy every single book that author has wrote.
Every edition.
Yeah, exactly. And what's wrong with... And so if I like, say, Nagaru Tanigawa, so I buy the Haruhi manga novel and anime. What's
Yeah.
wrong with that? You know,
Yeah.
compared to some dude buying a signed piece of art by an author,
Yeah.
the book by the author, the original first paperback of the author. You know,
Mhm.
again, just the irony of it all
Yeah.
is quite.
Well, and we also have that problem. You're getting back to that earlier topic about just, how it's different. Folks walk into our room and they see artwork of, 13-year-old girls.
Yeah.
And they see artwork of these, robots. And it's just foreign. They don't understand how they're portrayed, why they're there. You go back and watch Votoms and realize it's this very serious, very dramatic mecha work about, how war traumatizes people. But you look at if someone has a statue of Votom, it looks bizarre. Just out of context. It's really hard to explain to folks why, look at that photo of Misaka behind Matt there. It's a great poster for us. But someone else who sees that and it looks strange.
Yeah.
That's
Again,
partly
it's
why.
the whole does not compute thing.
Yeah.
That's also part of the reason why I don't have any posters up in my room, really. Just because so many people come in to it, so many people I don't know kind of come into it. Just like to see me, and if they look around and see those, they might get an impression on something. So yeah, I mean, I do have stacks of manga, mile high tall.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't want to make it any more prominent.
Well, it's just these days that I used to be just like that. But now I've just started thinking I'm an otaku. I'm proud of it. It's like when I go into HMV to buy 4 Ghibli films and just an anime series. I walk up to the desk with a big grin on my face, put down the manga in front of the dude, and say, "Mine, please." And just look, the dude will give me a look, mainly because I'm being an arrogant twat. But, he'll give me this look like, "You're buying anime, you're buying this much anime." It's like I spent £100 on anime DVDs once, The dude just gave me a look, and I was just stood there, big grin on my face, just like, "Yep, I'm buying these, they're brilliant, I'm going to watch them, and I'm going to just have an awesome weekend watching them."
And there's also that
same
big
thing with everything else. Sorry, go ahead, Brad.
There's that big thing about the thin line between fandom and obsession, and usually the obsessed get more press than the fans.
Right.
Yeah.
And obsessive people can come off as very creepy.
Oh yes, they they are. And we've all seen the folks whose rooms are just nothing but anime figurines. Half of them naked. It's kind of like, okay, dude. There is, and we've also known that person, or we've seen that person at a con, where it's like, okay, you need to stop breathing on the posters. I
thought you were just going to say you need to stop breathing. Just stop. Go away.
No. It's just, there are creepy people in our fandom. And we also have the issue, getting back to the whole, Misaka thing, is that there is that whole, apparent sexualization of young girls.
Yeah.
And
that poster you sent me with Misaka and Index in the maid outfit.
Yeah.
I can't hang that up in my room.
Mm-hmm.
I can hang it up in the back of my closet, not my room.
That poster.
No, you send it to me. It'll be on my room. Just stood there prominently, framed. This is mine.
My Phantom poster, the thing I hold most dear in all of the world. I can't show that to anyone.
Yeah. And that's just, girls in swimsuits. But it's still tough.
I'm going to grab it now just to show everyone why.
Well, no, but again, it's like the level of obsession is people doing everything. Comic book fans are pretty much the same, but they also have large collections of superhero figurines sat on their shelf.
Yeah.
But at the same time, again, back to the things of an author. Over on the shelf, over there on my top shelf, there is a stack that reaches my ceiling of Terry Pratchett books.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love Terry Pratchett, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Again, but people do it with everything.
Yeah.
Football fans, the manly men, the men of sport. They've got shitloads of football boots, scarves, t-shirts, all sorts. By football, I mean soccer. I mean football as it's meant to be called. We'll get into that. But
That's actually a funny point to bring up, Matt, that a sport fan had the same kind of obsessions as we nerds do. That's a guy who has a show, Movie Bob, has a show called The Big Picture. He had actually made that one of his talks of topic. For example, he brought up the fact that sports fans wear these jerseys that have the same number and same print of the actual team. He's like, they're like, oh no, they're just supporting a team. Like, no, that's a replication of the actual jersey that guy wore, aka cosplay.
Yeah.
And then he started bringing up all these parallels to our world. For example, fantasy football, D&D.
That's true.
It's a good point.
Yeah, you're saying it would be beautiful if one day there would be a day where sports geeks and nerds can come together, and there kind of is.
Beat the crap out of each other.
There kind of is with this tabletop game coming up to rise. It's called Orc Football. And by football I mean American football.
Yeah, Blood Bowl. Yeah, it's a fun game.
Isn't it Blood Bowl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
There's a video game of that, isn't there?
I think there was an adaptation of that at some point. But so let's finish this up. Do you have any one example of an anime that you think was sort of unfairly bashed? Trying to pull it back. Okay, there we go. That we haven't mentioned before.
To go with a recent one, Iron Man.
Yeah.
Because again, it's the idea that it wasn't great, so it was shit.
Right.
No, it was just meh.
Right.
It was just middle of the road.
Right.
Okay.
This is fairly recent as well. I could say Mitsudomoe just because of the common misconception right from the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it, it's awesome.
Yes.
Same here.
I have to say, though, that part of it is also due to how you advertise a show.
True.
Because I'm going to say that one of the unfairly bashed ones is, ironically, yes, I can't believe I haven't said this already, Phantom. But there is a reason, which is that, now I was shocked to find out, Zan, thank you for informing me, that in America, they advertised the hell out of that show.
They did.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I've never seen an advert for it before. And I didn't know that it was advertised so much. But it was wrongly done by two things. A, they advertised it so much that sometimes you can advertise something to the point where you don't care about it anymore. You want to forget it. So, you don't, because you advertise it so much, you sort of don't want to buy it.
I didn't know Phantom was even bashed. I thought it was just unknown and no one bothered watching it.
Well, actually, it was bashed. A lot of people watched the first episode and found that, unlike the advert, it was slow. It's a slow series. It's not a fast one. It doesn't explode in speed. It builds tension. And what people were advertised is, if you ever see the advert, it's gun, crash for a bike through a wall, more guns, people shooting each other. Phantom's not like that. And the thing is, you advertise it differently. The thing is that you advertise it differently to what it's done, and people bash it because of that.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, 10 people who bashed it, but you get the point. It was unknown, but people in America know it. They just ignored it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, I think my choice, oddly enough, would be Digimon. And I think I mentioned this earlier. That I think that's a franchise that a lot of folks dismiss as a kiddie show. And when you actually sit down and watch it, you realize this deals with divorce. It deals with, courage and the dangers thereof. There's a great episode where a character sort of rushes into Angel's Fear to Tread and nearly kills one of the other characters, literally kills. And there are other themes in there dealing with loss and other stuff. And what is parental love? How far does parental love go? And there's a lot of stuff in there that folks just.
Aren't you referring to Tamers?
I'm referring to all of them.
I guess divorce could be in the first one, and the second one kind of. No, not the first one.
Because the thing is that over here, because even I never bashed Digimon. I just never really probably watched it. Because it was when I was a kid, Digimon and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh were on TV, and the thing about it was Digimon just seemed too dark for me. I didn't like the slow moments. Whilst Pokemon, it was always bright, colourful, happy. There's a joke there. And the thing is that I was needed because I didn't really go for the story. Also, because they showed random episodes that didn't have.
So
the thing is that with that notion of when I was a kid, I ignored Digimon. No, I ignored Digimon and watched Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh instead, and hence I hold them in higher regard than Digimon, despite the fact that I haven't even properly seen the series.
Yeah. Kid shows.
So I apologise, Brent. I'm sorry.
I still have Digimon cards.
Huh? There we go.
Okay.
But yeah,
I have Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and if you ever want to play me, I will fuck you up.
well,
Duel Masters.
Naruto.
well, but again, Naruto's one of those things. Well, no. But I think Naruto gets, it gets plenty of fans too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was saying I have the Naruto card games today.
Oh, gotcha. Nice.
Basically, the thing about Naruto is it gets bashed, but the people watch it anyway.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Can I have an example now?
Absolutely.
Alright, what I was going to say was, no, not that. Oh, man, I can't remember. I have an idea of an anime that's overrated.
No, that's not what we're talking about. No.
I had an idea, but then, I don't know, my thought process got backed up all of a sudden.
Well, what we could ask before we end it, though, is an example of what the hosts think something is fairly bashed.
Yeah,
Seeing something that's unfairly bashed and fairly bashed. Nice contrast.
Yeah, I don't know.
If you say High School of the Dead, then I disagree. I think it's a good show.
It's just not for me.
Yeah, I know. I still think Hot D was a bit unfairly bashed, but not unfair, but it was bashed a bit too much for the one thing, but, I can see why, and there was one moment in which even I had to shout.
Kind of Evangelion. It just for, the fact that I think a lot of folks bash it because they don't understand what happened, and, they were looking for something more action-y, and that's not what they're trying to do.
Definitely.
But on the other hand, if there are other, complaints or things, that's perfectly legitimate. I don't know. There's not a lot of stuff where I really, think that things were fairly bashed. I have a problem with Akira because I feel it's folks love it and there's lots of flaws in it.
Well, I love it because it was something new at the time. That's the thing. So people hold it in high regard because it's supposed to be part of history.
Yeah, and that, my problem is that a lot of folks think that Akira is an incredibly deep psychological. There's lots of layers to it.
Probably because they've been told that.
Yeah, that's the thing.
For example, and I'm going to honestly say this: would I hold Ghost in the Shell in higher regard if I didn't know how important it was to the industry? Probably not. I still hold Ghost in the Shell Innocence in higher regard, but that's because I think it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't think. Matt, did you have an example in mind?
Well, again, it's all down to opinion, but in my opinion, Tanto Opera Milky Holmes. I think, because a lot of people don't like that, and I can understand why.
Yeah.
Again, this sexualization of young girls in a schizophrenic show that doesn't know its audience. I think that's got plenty of reason why you should be bashed. At the same time, it's just not for me. But at the same time, lowly hentai isn't for me. But
for good reason.
People watch it,
I think everyone can agree that Bleach in its current state deserves what it gets.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Oh, I got one. One Piece. So many people, anime people I know, don't read One Piece, don't watch One Piece, just they say like, oh, it's so childish. If you stick on it, it's not. I mean, yeah, sure, we're not going to get like gore for gore, once it's gore, of course. But what we do get is we do get deep storyline. Again, Brent, if you remember, I'm pretty sure Ed said this yesterday, but One Piece, every manga is every Takuban, it gets better and better.
Yes, Ed.
That's just the honest truth. There's just some really deep stories in here, and I think that's what Oda's really good at, just like telling the stories. In fact, his first work before he did One Piece was just like a book of all these random stories, these random one-shots, and one of them actually, so that's why he got published. Just these random one-shots, and he's really good at it. Just like, if you ever watched the Skypiea art, just wow, all the complete similarities to Indians and the European settlers are totally amazing.
Actually, I've got one. MD Geist. I don't know if anyone has
I
seen
haven't watched
MD
it.
Geist. Oh man,
Heard it.
ridiculously over the top 90s and Fist of the North Star kind of style. And it's just there's almost no redeeming qualities to MD Geist. It has some action elements and so forth. It has some fun character stuff, but it's just and the thing, folks bash it for saying it's not like you can't see this, it's not like you can't have fun with it. It's just when it came out, originally there's a lot of oh my gosh, there's blood, and this is of course back a long time ago. So it got a lot of attention, and then folks were like, wait, there's really nothing else here. So I think that's one of those ones that just not so much.
Actually, the thing is, though, it sometimes gets annoying when people compare it to a series which, over, like, one little thing, like very recently, how Freezing got so compared with Queensblade, and yes, I was the one who said it.
Yes.
I said Queensblade Season 3. Yeah, it's not, and, but it's interesting that you can just suddenly put a comparison on something like Boom, and it gets the fact they got, and honestly, it's interesting how Queensblade is so hated yet actually so influential in our opinions because everyone, apart from a few of us, really discarded really discarded Freezing immediately, despite it having some extremely good redeeming qualities.
Yeah.
But yes, Queensblade can be bashed. Yes, it is. Bash Queensblade, but don't compare it to other things.
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of the thing. We Otalku love to compare things a lot.
Oh yeah,
We just
that's
do.
that's one of the problems Digimon had.
Yes, exactly.
It's Pokemon.
Right. When it's not.
Duel Masters. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's nothing like Yu-Gi-Oh! Card Fight to Vanguard. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not.
Bayonetta, it's Devil May Cry. Shut up.
Yeah. I don't know. If you ever watched the Card Fight to Vanguard anime, it's completely opposite to Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay? Yu-Gi-Oh! Episode 3, they get on a boat to go to the Duelist Kingdom to fight in the tournament. Episode 3 of Card Fight to Vanguard, okay, fine. I don't know. Like, it's so different.
All right.
It's
fair enough.
Okay.
Well established.
Dan, you're doing it again.
See, I like anime discussion.
All right. Well, then we will have to continue this, have more discussion some other time. And as always, I would love to thank my hosts. Matt, thanks for joining us.
It's always a pleasure to be here, always a pleasure to entertain you all, and a pleasure to be entertained by you all.
Thank you, Matt Suzumiya. Thank you, Miniman, for joining us.
Yes, and Snorlax, what do you think of today's show? There we go.
Thanks, Dan, as well. Thanks for joining us.
I really, really want a camera.
And Brad, thank you, too. Good to have you.
It's great to be here. I agree with you, Zan. I want a camera, too.
Cool.
We'll have one day when Haruhi wishes it.
Wishes.
All right.
I've run out of power from there.
Thanks, all. Take care.
Bye. Bye.
See you again this year.